Joining the Colorado Ag News Network and FarmCast Radio Inside the Barn at this time is none other than Dr. Maggie Baldwin, DVM. She's the new state veterinarian at the Colorado Department of Agriculture. First off, welcome back inside the barn and congratulations on the new position you were just promoted to recently after 2 years as assistant or deputy veterinarian. Tell our listeners more about your background. I don't know if you shared that before, but bring us up to speed.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Good to be here again talking with you this morning. Yeah, so I am originally from rural Minnesota. You can probably hear that a bit when I talk and say you betcha and oofta. But no, I'm really excited. I'm really excited to be your new state veterinarian. I'm really excited to continue to work in this excellent state of Colorado with our agricultural community and our veterinary community, and really just do all we can together to support our livestock and animal industries across the state. So yeah, I've been with CDA for over 4 years, 4.5 years, in now my 5th position with CDA. So we were joking this morning that I think I've tried out every office in our division at least once. And hopefully this will be my last move for a little while into the state veterinarian's office, but really looking forward to the new job and continuing to work with you as well.
You bet. The 5th rung of the ladder, as it were. And in your background also, we have some shared location or locale. You did have a house in BRIGGSDALE at one time, so I got to throw that in there once in a while. We are proud of you as a community by becoming the state vet, by the way. And what would your duties be as state veterinarian, and maybe even a comment about your predecessor, Dr. Keith Rohr, who we're definitely all going to miss, but hopefully he'll still be active and engaged with our livestock industry moving forward.
Yeah, Dr. Rohr was just an excellent leader for our division. He was a great colleague and a great mentor, and I've taken a lot of, I think, valuable lessons from him that will help form my vision, my role as state veterinarian to continue to support our state. So, really my duties is to support our division and the great work that our team and our division does. So, things like livestock disease control and response, just animal disease response for reportable diseases in general, animal disease traceability. We've got an excellent program with our new no-cost RFID tag program. It's not new anymore, it's a year old. And as long as USDA continues to fund that, we'll continue to promote those no-cost tags for our producers and veterinarians. We do a lot on emergency preparedness and response, which, as you know, has been a passion of mine since I've been with CDA, and even prior to that when I was with USDA, and working on things like preparedness for foot and mouth disease and African swine fever and highly pathogenic avian influenza. We have our Bureau of Animal Protection program, and we have some of our other kind of smaller programs. We have predator control, alternative livestock for CWD control program, and then also aquaculture. So we do a lot in our animal health division, and my role is really to support all of the great work that we do. And then, of course, the administrative stuff like budget, finance, rulemaking, and trying to my goal really, Brian, is to continue with what Dr. Rohr had done in risk-based, science-based decision-making and rules and regulations and policies. The policies and rules that we have really need to support current production practices and veterinary practices and make sense, but also not hinder, livelihoods and hinder daily practices, but, support animal care and animal health and well-being. So that's my goal. And I hope that we can all work together to do that.
I know the livestock industry is really excited that you were selected to be the state veterinarian at the Colorado Department of Agriculture to succeed Dr. Keith Rohr. My guest once again is Dr. Maggie Baldwin, DVM, the new state veterinarian at the Colorado Department of Agriculture. Now, how about the latest on the livestock disease? Can we get an update from you on that as we head into spring and summer here in Colorado? Anything that livestock producers or even horse owners need to be concerned about? Because, with all this moisture we've had on the eastern side of the state anyway, and the standing water that's right now on the ground. Mosquitoes might be a big concern, especially as they carry one of those diseases we need to worry about in the horse industry, West Nile virus.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So on the equine side, there's a lot of things on the horizon. I think that we've had a few equine herpes virus cases recently. I think you probably have seen media release, and we've had some information going out to veterinarians about that. We've had a couple quarantines for those cases. And really, we're seeing EHV circulating kind of nationwide. So, practice for equine enthusiasts and folks that go to shows and events, practice good biosecurity, make sure your horses are vaccinated. Those are our top tools that we can use against some of those diseases. Certainly the water is good and welcome, but does bring challenges, as you mentioned. So again, on vaccination, make sure your horses are vaccinated for West Nile virus. That's the biggest tool we have against West Nile in our equine population. And to the best of our ability, try to control stagnant water on your place, just especially in the areas that horses and livestock are. The other thing that can be challenging in moist years, Brian, as you know, is vesicular stomatitis, which we have not had yet this year. It's not been detected anywhere. We don't have an index case in the country, but something that's going to continue to remain top of mind in any of our kind of wet seasons is VSV in response for that. So that's on the equine side. A couple of other things that we've been working on. We have had some trichomoniasis cases recently in cattle, and those typically are found on annual testing for commuter permits or for sales. We get those positive tests and respond. So really important to work with your veterinarians and make sure that you're annually testing your bulls for trich. It's an important economic reproductive disease. And so, annually testing is the best way to control that disease, is test and remove those bulls that are positive. So those are a couple things on the livestock side.
I was going to say, we've covered equine, bovine. Anything on porcine or ovine that we need to be concerned about? Would it be pork or lamb?
Yeah. So on the swine side, I would talk a little bit on our foreign animal disease preparedness. African swine fever has been something that all of us in regulatory medicine and, in the swine industry have been really aware of and working on preparedness for. So Brian, I think we worked on a couple years ago a high plains African swine fever tabletop exercise in Guyman, Oklahoma. And that was where 4 of our states, regional states, as Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Colorado, got together to work on kind of preparedness plans and communication strategies for ASF in our swine industry. And we had a lot of our swine industry partners at that exercise. We're continuing to work on that. We've actually just recently, we brought on this spring 2 temporary veterinarians to work on helping us rewrite our emergency response plans. So we now have 1 standalone FMD plan. We have 1 standalone ASF and CSF plan. And then we have 1 for high path AI and Newcastle. So we have 3 disease specific. The ASF is going to be key, to get out in the hands of our swine industry, let you all know what our response plan looks like, but also secure food supply planning. We now have 1 standalone secure food supply plan that outlines what producers have to do in the face of a disease outbreak. So as you know, the COVID-19 pandemic really hit our production industries. When we were having outbreaks on the human side in processing facilities, that slowed our processing capacity, and that backed all the way up to farm of origin, especially on our swine side and our avian side. Fortunately, in Colorado, we did not have to depopulate any of our livestock because of production backups, but that's something that is going to remain top of mind. So when we look forward for planning on the animal disease preparedness side, we know that the primary thing we have to focus on is continuity of business. We have to keep animals and animal products moving, but we have to do that in a low risk manner when we're talking about animal disease outbreaks. And secure food supply plans is how we're going to do that. Secure food supply plans outline biosecurity requirements that allow for those products to continue to move in a safe manner. So those are a couple things on the swine side we're really looking forward to. And I think right now we've got about, I think over 75% of our swine facilities have submitted secure food supply plans for their premises in Colorado. So good news on that side. But with ASF now being declared essentially endemic in China, this problem is not going away. And so we're going to have to continue to plan and prepare. One other real quick thing on that, Brian, we are also participating in a new pilot program. It's the Swine Health Improvement Plan. It's a pilot program that USDA and some industry partners are spearheading for ASF and CSF surveillance in our swine population. And that's something they're just kickstarting that right now. And our first meeting, I think our first in-person meeting, I think is going to be in August. We get to see people in person again. And that's going to be exciting, but that'll be a really good program. It's modeled after the Poultry program that does surveillance for influenza, for avian influenza and Newcastle disease. So this one will be on the swine side, but really for ASF and CSF.
So we've covered, as I mentioned before, equine, bovine, porcine, which would be hogs. You even mentioned avian in there, which would be the poultry division. On the lamb side, is there anything on the disease front, or is it all about the wolf reintroduction that they're worried about in that sector of our economy?
Yeah, good. I forgot you had mentioned the lamb side. So there's a couple things on the lamb side that we have been working on, and some of it doesn't necessarily fall under our large, commercial operations. But one that does, I suppose, would be Brucella ovis. That's been, something that we've been responding to cases. Again, Brucella is another thing, testing and calling those rams to get them out of the herd. It is another economic, significant economic reproductive disease on the lamb side, and something that, we need to be doing surveillance for, especially when you're seeing abortions in those lamb herds. That's important to report and work with your veterinarian on testing, and then remove those lambs or rams. And then the other thing that we've been doing on the kind of non-commercial side, but that's still within the small ruminant, is Coxiella. So Coxiella Coxiella burnetii is a bacteria that infects, pretty much most ruminants, but we see it a lot in small ruminants when we see abortion storms. It's one of the very many differential diagnoses for our small ruminants, goats and sheep. We've been seeing more of these kind of abortion storms in the, I would say, backyard or smaller, not commercial size operations, but, it's another one of those agents where biosecurity is our best tool, and good lambing practices and good kidding practices are our best tools in prevention. And that disease also is zoonotic. It's what causes Q fever in humans, which most veterinarians and livestock producers have a titer against, for Q fever, but it's something that it does cause pretty significant and serious disease in people. So biosecurity, again, I keep saying it, but it's one of our best tools in disease prevention, not just for foreign animal diseases, but all the endemic diseases that we deal with as well.
And I'm glad you mentioned those in the Ovine area, but just a quick thing on predator control and the reintroduction of wolves. The Colorado Parks and Wildlife is hosting their second wolf educational session, May 20th. You can get pre-registered for that and attend that. And also you can check out the first session recordings by going to the story posted online inside the barnandbarnmedia.net. Look at the Colorado Farm Bureau alert. And you can also find it, of course, at the Colorado Parks and Wildlife's site as well. Are there any other diseases or anything else you want to mention on that front, on any of the livestock species that we might have missed?
I think that covers it. I mean, we do, I would say real briefly on just species wide, rabies is always a concern for us. You know, we had a rabid mule in January 2021. So not only did we get enough of, you know, everything we dealt with in 2020, but 2021 kicked off with a rabid mule. So, you know, making sure horses and then valuable livestock are vaccinated for rabies. That's our number one tool against rabies in the state. We have it, of course, endemic in our skunk population with the Southwest skunk variant type. But the mule, in fact, was bat variant rabies. So that had been, you know, bitten by a rabid bat. So vaccine is our number one tool against rabies. And we deal with, you know, some small companion animal diseases as well for reportable diseases. Fortunately, we have not seen any SARS-CoV-2, which is the virus that causes COVID-19. We have not seen any SARS-CoV-2 cases in animals in Colorado. It has significantly impacted the mink population and mink industry, which we also don't have in Colorado. You know, fortunately, we haven't had to deal with that. But I have sat on the National Assembly OFIC livestock subgroup, which is the One Health Federal Interagency COVID-19 Coordination Livestock Subgroup. And we've, you know, tried to stay on top of any new research that might indicate the virus changing or, you know, impacting other species of animals not known to exist. But fortunately, aside from mink production, our other livestock species don't seem to be affected.
And you kind of mentioned COVID, it's releasing its grip on the nation and the state. So that means county fairs, Jackpot shows, even the 2021 Colorado State Fair is just around the corner. Anything you wanted to mention specifically to those exhibitors that will be traveling to those that they need to keep in mind?
You know, we're looking forward to things opening back up safely and looking forward to being down at the state fair again. We did get to go down last year and did the drug residue testing like we do every year. The one thing that I would say, Brian, that we haven't quite touched on yet is the rabbits. Rabbit hemorrhagic disease virus type 2 is something that we've had now in Colorado for over a year. We're classified as a stable endemic state because it's in our wild rabbit population. And we've been working with CPW on that. But, you know, rabbit shows, some are continuing with increased biosecurity practices. Some are also requiring vaccines to go to those shows. But that would be one thing that, you know, if you've got rabbits, again, biosecurity is our only tool against protecting your domestic rabbits from getting exposed from the wild rabbits, keeping your rabbits inside. It's a highly fatal disease. And in the cases that we're seeing, you know, more than half of the rabbits on each premises, you know, dying from the disease. So it comes on very acutely and those rabbits die pretty quickly. But it's, you know, biosecurity is our only tool against that one as well.
Glad you brought that up, because rabbits, there's a lot of big rabbit shows, especially when you get to State Fair in a small animal building. There's a lot of cages with a lot of rabbits down there at that.
Yep.
So what's the best way that listeners can, you know, contact the Animals Division if they have a question about something they've seen in their area or their animals, and how can they stay updated? What's the best way to do that, Maggie?
Yeah, so always calling is the number one thing. We're available not only during business hours, but we also have a veterinarian on call 24 hours a day. So between myself and Dr. Minicucci and Dr. Heckendorf, one of us is always on call and available. Our number is 303-869-9130. And then you can also go to our website. Website has a lot of great information. It's ag.colorado.gov/animals. We have a new updated website. If you want to go to directly to get information on rabbit hemorrhagic disease, you can type in colorado.gov/RHD, and that takes you right to our rabbit hemorrhagic disease website, which has an interactive map, and you can see all of the detections in both wild rabbits and domestic rabbits right there on our website, and see if it's in your area.
I'll do my best to place a link adjacent to this interview too, for those that want to find those. Once again, my guest is Colorado State Veterinarian Dr. Maggie Baldwin, DVM. And you've got some upcoming events I know you're going to be speaking at. Just real quick, the Colorado Cattlemen's Association is having their annual meeting in Grand Junction, next month, I think. Mm-hmm. And what else are you working on besides that?
Yeah, well, just today I'm working on recording some presentations for our veterinary community with the Colorado Veterinary Medical Association, talking about disease updates as well, and just general updates from our state veterinarian's office. We also have a lot of really great exercises coming up that we will have industry involvement on some of them. So next week, we're participating in a 22 state FMD vaccine tabletop exercise. I've not been part of a tabletop exercise this big, so I'm really excited. We are participating as a beef state. So we're one of the top beef producing states, very proud of that. And we're going to work our best to see what, FMD vaccine is going to look like for our beef industry in Colorado during that exercise. After that, we're participating with National Pork Board and 4 other states in a multi-state exercise focused on really ASF response in using their new AgView platform. So that's going to be exciting, see how that platform works for state animal health officials. In June, we're hosting a high-path avian influenza tabletop exercise with some of our poultry response partners and some of our commercial poultry operations. And then in August, we're going to be participating in another secure beef supply exercise, tabletop exercise, which is going to be really, really exciting to see how that permitting actually works with secure beef. And I don't know, Brian, if you had participated in February 2020, right before COVID hit, we hosted the first part of this secure beef supply exercise here in Colorado. And that was a multi-state. I think there's 6 states involved in that exercise. So really looking forward to all of those upcoming things. We've got a lot of other things on animal disease traceability side, a lot of things happening, a lot of irons in the fire. And one of the other first things that we're working on is filling my old position for assistant state veterinarian. So as soon as we get that filled in, some of these transition pieces will be a little bit easier in the coming months.
I look forward to whoever that selection is and maybe get a chance to interview the assistant state veterinarian. But your calendar is full, so I'm glad I had a chance to sneak in an interview with you because you were appointed a new position after Dr. Rohr left early in the month. So we're a couple of weeks behind when you first took over. But I know we've covered a lot, some up from the 30,000 foot view. But any final thoughts or something we might have missed that you wanted to make mention of?
Brian, I think we did cover a lot. It was really, really good. I just really appreciate any opportunity we get to talk with you and reach our livestock producers, and just want everybody to know that I'm excited about this new position, but I'm also just as available as I always have been. So if there's any questions or concerns, always feel free to reach out directly to me, directly to our office. We're here, yes, as a regulatory agency, but also, with our overall mission to support the health and well-being and marketability of our Colorado livestock. So that's our overall goal, and we can't do that without our producers being involved and engaged. So yeah, thanks again.
You bet. Well, congratulations once again on being named the state veterinarian for Colorado, Dr. Maggie Baldwin, DVM. Thanks for taking the time to visit with me here inside the barn and on the Colorado Ag News Network and FarmCast Radio. Very much appreciated.
Thanks, Brian.
Don't forget, if you'd like to learn more about the Colorado Department of Agriculture, stop by their offices at 305 Interlochen Parkway in Broomfield when the time comes and the COVID restrictions are released, or simply give them a call at 303-869-9000 or visit them online at colorado.gov/ag. And to listen and watch and learn more about the veterinary side of it, go to colorado.gov/ag/animals. Thanks again, Dr. Maggie Baldwin. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.